I went back to the cinema this weekend and saw the new film, The Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh's latest and his first since his first film, In Bruges, to star Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. It's the story of two men living on the island of Inisherin off the west coast of Ireland in 1923. Um, Padraig is a dairy farmer, whilst Colm is more interested in music, and they meet every day at 2 o'clock at the local pub for a Guinness and a chat. But one day, Padraig arrives at the pub, and Colm isn't in the mood for talking. In fact, he tells him very bluntly to sit somewhere else. It becomes clear that Colm doesn't want to be friends with Padraig anymore and intends to spend his time more profitably, having intellectual, stimulating conversations with others and learning and writing more music. Padraig, he decides, is too boring. He's a nice person, there's nothing wrong with him necessarily. He's just dull, and Padraig takes this very badly. He's lonely, quite softly spoken. His only other friends seem to be his sister, with whom he lives since their parents died, and Dominic, the local slow person, shall we say, the son of the local Garda, who is also being abused by his father. So the relationship between these two has taken quite a knock, but Padraig refuses to give up on their relationship. So Cole makes him a very simple ultimatum. Every time Padraig bothers him, he will go back to his home, he will take his pair of shears, and he will cut off one of his own fingers. We see over the course of the story how their relationship gradually degenerates from one of presumed friendship into outright animosity, and illustrated through their relationships with the other people on the island. As I say, the sister, the police officer's son, um, the locals in the pub, played by noted Irish comic actors. It's an extremely well written, well made, engaging film. Superb performances by Farrell and Gleeson, and beautifully filmed in Ireland. The landscape is enriching almost in its beauty and simplicity. Um, but it's a film that I wouldn't say it betrays its theatrical origins. It's based on an unproduced play by McDonagh, but it has these elements of layerings that feel theatrical. Like the happening deep in the background is the Irish Civil War, which is illustrated only by the seeing occasional explosions on the mainland across the water. Now, this conflict hasn't affected the island, but they are nevertheless worried about the impact that it might have on them. The relationship people have with their environment as well. Colm lives in a very small house by the beach in the middle of nowhere, seemingly, and by himself with only his dog for company, while Padraig has his animals, his donkey Jenny, which his sister gets very angry about when he allows it in the house, and his sister, who is sensible, level headed, um, something of a go getter, as she is applied to work as a librarian on the mainland, but also has to look after her not dim-witted but vulnerable brother. Um, I really enjoyed the film. It has a warmth despite the story of a rotting friendship. Um, there is a humanity and a sincerity which I really took to. Farrell has blossomed into a superb actor in the last decade or so, and this is maybe his best performance to date. Gleeson was excellent as someone who is is driven by his own needs and desires to be cruel. He says explicitly he doesn't want to be cruel. He doesn't want to hurt Patrick's feelings. He just doesn't want to have him talking to him anymore. He doesn't have to deal with his dullness and his nonsense when he could be doing something that's much more profitable. And he's not doing that to be spiteful. He's just doing it because he thinks that is what he needs to do with his life. Neither of them is wrong, but they're the way that the situation escalates shows both of them to be in the wrong. Um, I really enjoyed it. It's a hard film to talk about. It's so character based. It's relatively light on story, but it's it's emotional. It's engaging. It's something that stays with you because I think audiences can really empathise with the characters and their situation. The idea of um, wasting one's time with nonsense, wasting away one's life when one could be more profitably engaged, but also wanting to enjoy life for what it is. Um, I think that's an interesting central conflict. The performances are all superb, as I say. It looks beautiful. It's superbly written. I mean, it's a film that's hard to find a flaw with. It's one of my favourite films of the year so far, and I would recommend it very highly.